Hey, welcome to the Knitting Samurai Plus One video podcast. I'm your host, Steph. This is episode 78, a week later. I can't believe we're seeing each other again so soon. It's shocking, truly shocking. Oh, sorry. It worked out so well recording from work last week that I thought I would pack my bag and do it again this week. So we'll see how it goes. See if we like recording this frequently. I don't think I'll be able to keep it up once thing 2 comes along, and I'm not making any promises, but for right now, I thought it would be nice to share what I'm working on. So let's jump into it. First up, the purple socks that I'm working on for J. Kelly. I set myself a goal of getting to the first, or to the afterthought heel line, and I did it. So I think I was sort of spurred on by trying to get to the end of the color repeat. Like, I was curious what color was going to come next, all the way through. This kind of reminds me of the shawl I'm wearing today, which is Fiber Nymph Dye Works, all the purples. It's a Martina Bem shawl with the scallopy edge. I don't remember what it's called. Anyways, so I set myself a goal and I worked through it, and I'm really pleased with how much progress I've made. I did warn her that it would take me a while to knit these, just because I have 3 pairs of socks on the needles right now. I knew I was going to split my time between this and another pair, so I'm really happy. I did do some research and found that Lala's Afterthought heel pattern was the place for me. So even though I'm doing my standard toe-up construction with a 2x2 rib on size 0, 2.0 millimeter needles, and this is Knit Picks Bleachy Yarn Sugared Violets. Even though I'm doing my normal construction, I'm going to follow her instructions on, I followed her math for where to place the afterthought heel line based on the length of the foot, and then I'll follow her instructions on how to insert the afterthought heel. So wish me luck. I've done one other afterthought heel, so this is definitely a new challenge for me, so I'm excited. I like how fast the knitting is going when you're not doing gusset increases, but turning the heel is my favorite part of the standard slip stitched heel pattern that I use. So it's good and it's bad, it's different, you know, it's something different and new to try. So, and this purple, the Knit Picks yarn is just, you can't beat it for softness. It pills, it definitely pills. The pair I knit 3 or 4 years ago, like, they have pills, but I can pick them off and they still look very pretty, and they're so soft and very wearable, so they don't shrink or anything. So highly recommend that yarn. So that's on the needles. I did alternate knitting on that with knitting on one of the new things. So the alternate title of this episode could clearly be Cast on All the Things. I'm just looking at my notes, and I cast on 1, 2, 3, 4 new projects, 5 new projects this week. So lots to show you. I don't know, I'm excited about knitting again, so I'm just running with it. I think the accessories are just really invigorating, those little tiny quick projects. So, you know, being able to bust through them. So the other sock that I'm alternating, also on the same size needles, US Ceros, that's my size. I don't have the label in here. These are, but I do recall that I bought 4 different skeins of gray-black yarn to knit a pair of sophisticated socks for my dad. And this is the Regia Snowflake color, I think is the name of it. According to the label, the picture on the label, it looks like it's going to do some of those classy Norwegian snowflakes that you think of when you think of the traditional ski sweaters. So the label looks like that. So I went with this one over the other 3 self-striping, semi-ferile looking yarns, because if this does do that, which I think is going to be so cool, I'm going to run out and buy every other color that they have at Webb's. So, but that enthusiasm is being tempered by the fact that this is a gray-black yarn, and I don't want to knit gray-black yarn, and I really only want to knit it when it's a bright sunny day and I'm sitting in the car or sitting by the window in the living room, like, you know. So I've been alternating, like doing some of this, okay, now or do an inch on this, and then as a reward, now go knit on that one, the pretty purple, for as long as you want, you know. Or I'm going to watch a movie that I'm not going to pay a lot of attention to my knitting, so okay, work on the boring one versus the pretty one. So that's how it's going. My dad does have super wide feet, so instead of 64 stitches, I am knitting 68, which makes me a little skeptical at how the snowflake, if that will impact the snowflake design on the socks. They're really wide at the front, but then he's a thin man, and so his, like the back half of his foot, back to here, and then up his leg, that's all very thin. So my plan is to just get through the ball of his foot and then drop down to 64 stitches, which is my typical sock circumference. I think it's pretty much everybody's. And go from there and see if I can see the pattern that way. So keep you posted on that. And I did split it, so there's my half of the skein in here. And I believe this is, oh, it's a lantern moon bag. I've had forever. But it feels like it's the right home for a black sock. Black gray sock. So that's on my needles. What else? So I talked to you about casting on a hat for Steve. So this is his skiing, or not skiing. Gotta help me if he starts skiing. No, he skates. He ice skates. His hat. So last Saturday, I pulled out the Barocco Blackstone Tweed Chunky, which is exactly what the pattern calls for, which the pattern is called Jason's Tweed Hat by Melissa Thompson. He had picked it out, as you recall, and so I ordered the exact color that he asked for, or that he saw, which was 6602 Steamers colorway. The hat was knit on US size 8, 5.0 millimeters, and I used about 130 yards. So, and it has a very decent, it's like a 3-inch brim on it. I blocked it with it not to make sure he had plenty of room on the top. I didn't block it with a full 3 inches folded up, right? So the hat, so what I'm thinking is he has a large head, I know he does, and I used 130 yards, which was a skein and a little bit more, well, skein and a quarter, skein and a half, skein and some, which is 2 skeins of yarn versus the pattern calling for 3. I don't know who on earth would need to use 3 skeins of this yarn. And it's the difference between this being a $20 and a $30 hat. So I was a little disappointed that I had just ordered 3 skeins only to add 1.5 to my stash. So I think I might knit a friend a matching hat to go with Steve's. His head is a little smaller than Steve's. I could probably get away with taking off 10 stitches in the circumference. And if I need to make it shorter for him, he won't care. So I will say that I knit this hat in a day, so that was so exciting all Saturday. And the whole time I was working with it, I was just like, oh, Steve, you gotta feel this yarn. It's amazing. It's amazing. So typically, I like to work with 100% superwash wool yarns. And this, I don't have the ball band with me, I'm sorry, but I believe is a wool, I don't know what kind of wool, mohair, Angora blend, and the Angora is like 10%, like it's tiny. But something about that gives this just a wonderful hand. And it's gotta be the Angora giving it like a silky quality, a little bit of silky to it. For a yarn that has mohair in it, a substantial amount, there's very little halo on this yarn. Very, very little. So, and it's been washed and blocked, and he hasn't been allowed to wear it because I don't want him to sweat in it until I can show it to you. So now he can have this hat. And actually it hasn't been warm enough to skate outside this past week. So, I mean, I finished it Saturday. He wasn't going to use it on Sunday. So, anyway, so that's done. And when that was done, I'm telling you, it's crazy the amount of projects on these needles. So then it makes sense to record every week when you have this much to show. I pulled out from my UFO area a hat that had the brim finished, right? Just this much. I was trying to design last year, you may recall. So this was cast on in December 2012. It is Schaefer Nicole, which was one of my favorite, hands down, all-time favorite yarns. I really do love it. It is a fingering weight yarn, but should not be used for socks. I have 2 shawls out of it, and the other skeins I have, I'm just saving. So this was, oh no, I have 2 shawls and a hat. I knit that other hat that I didn't really like, the pebbled beanie. I don't know where that is. Anyways, so I had the brim done on this, and you may also recall, I don't think it's in this podcast lead, but if you've been watching the podcast for a while, there's a picture that I used to include of Roland in his raccoon Halloween costume, and I'm holding him wearing a green hat with black buttons down the side. that hat is the Argyle Lace Hat by Laura Irwin, and it's from Boutique Knits. I love that book. It inspires me. That I think I've knit 2 hats out of that book, but all the patterns are gorgeous. I love it. And there's one more hat the color work with beads. I really would like to knit that. So anyways, I looked at this brim and I thought, you know, it'd be nice to have an update to that green hat. I knit that green hat, I think 4 years ago, when it sits at the bottom of the hat bin and it doesn't match the coat, any of my winter coats. Well, I could wear it with black, but I don't wear it now anyways. And so I thought, I'll just do that. So this is that pattern, my slightly altered brim, different brim. And then it has the Argyle lace, which it hasn't been blocked, so it's kind of hard to see, but it has the lace running up the, maybe I should put some paper in there. Ooh. So there's the hat with the Argyle lace running up the side. I finished it last night. I was pushing to get it done to share it with you. For the green hat, I used Fluette Gems in a sport weight, if I'm recalling right. And this is a chunky or a heavy fingering weight, I would say. And so I thought I would be all right, and I didn't measure my gauge, and I just used the needles recommended. Oh, and that the pattern itself calls for the hat to be knit flat so that you have, I think it's 8 buttons, 6 buttons, a bunch of buttons down the side. And I didn't want the buttons, and I had the brim done. I didn't want to detract from the yarn since I do love the color, which is Gertrude Ederle. It's inspired by her. And so I just decided to knit it in the round and alter the stitch count slightly. But there isn't a problem with the row gauge. I think there is, however, a pattern. Where's my lace? No, there isn't a problem with my stitch gauge. There's a problem with my row gauge, because as you're looking at it on me, it's really short, right? I can't do the slouch that I do with the green one. So I'm not sure. Will this come out in blocking? Did I mess up my eyebrows? They'd like to get messed up. Yeah, so we'll see if I can block it out, but it does have the crown decreases, and I do remember this on the other one, they're not like your normal crown decreases, the way that she has the SSK and the knit 2 together. Every time I have to like stop and think, okay, and I love the way they turn out. I don't know why everybody doesn't do crown decreases this way. They're beautiful. But anyways, hopefully this hat will block out. And I feel like last week I showed you a purple hat that I knit for myself, and it's too long. I blocked it, it's better, but it's still kind of long. This week I knit a purple hat for myself, and it's too short. But really, I'm a sock knitter primarily. I've knit a lot of shawls after that, I would say. And then third, probably sweaters, if I include baby sweaters in there. I have not knit a lot of hats, or a lot of hats that I have seen worn. You know, like I've knit a lot of hats and given them away, or when I was expecting the first time around, I knit, 6 hats for a boy and 6 hats for a girl, something crazy. But, you know, baby can't tell you, oh, this doesn't feel comfortable, and they grow out of them so fast that it's like, if it doesn't fit today, it'll fit tomorrow, and if it fits today, it won't fit tomorrow. So that's off my needles, and I'm so glad, because, you know, to have this just beautiful yarn sitting, I have to say, oh, this used 170 yards, so what a difference. A Aran weight 130 yard hat and a fingering weight 170 yard hat. So I still have enough to knit another hat if I want to. That leaves like 200 yards or something, but I'm out yarn. So there you go. Those are off the needles. I'm gonna flash what's in here. So this is my other Valentine's themed bag, Who Loves You? And this one's also a petal loop. It's her bigger version. So I had to pull that out, right? This sock, I think I knit a row on, and then they're living together. They're sharing, they're roommates. The seamless Salomas, I don't think I did hardly anything at all. Part of the problem is that I'm trying to magic loop them, and this cable really isn't long enough. It's what, 24? I'd say it's a 24 inch. I'm measuring it up against my sheet of paper. Maybe it's a 32. But it's just, I needed a longer cable so that I can really magic loop and then go. Then I'll fly. Or I need to just knock it down to a 16-inch circular. Something. I need to do something so I finish that. But at the same time, there's a part of me that says, you know, knitting's a fun hobby. It's a hobby. It's not supposed to make me crazy. And impose deadlines. I can just let things go and knit whatever's fun and happy. And that's what I hope you do too. That reminds me, I don't know why, but it does. The 2014 intentions. So I like to do my updates on where I'm at the end of the month, each month, 12 times throughout the year, right? And I love that so many of you guys have shared your intentions on the discussion board over on Ravelry. And I'd like to start a thread over there for like, let's all do a monthly update on how we're doing or which one of our intentions we're working on, and here's the project that's gonna get us there and that type of stuff. So I don't know, I think I need to start that thread. Note to self. So ready for all the new things? All the new things. Now don't get too excited because they're really just accessories or little small items. It's not like I cast on 5 sweaters, because I didn't. But I did cast on something that will cover 2 of my intentions. So I have a goal, intention, whatever, of knitting. I know, there's so much progress on this. You are shocked, right? I just cast on a lot of things because I felt like it, and then we'll just see which ones I finish. And this really, I won't feel bad if I don't finish it because it's just a cast on. So I want to knit more hats this year, and I want to use up all of my Rhinebeck yarn. So this is not, I classify it as Rhinebeck yarn because it came in October. This is my Into the World October 2013 Yarn Club colorway 221B. Seems like a fitting time to be knitting with Sherlock themed yarns. Have you been watching Sherlock? I haven't. Have you been watching Downton? I have. I need to catch up on Sherlock, but Sherlock is a Steve and I thing. Downton he gave up on after like half of last season, so I'm not ready to let go of Downton yet. But the first 2 seasons were so good, and I'm just really not into it. And just side note, Rose kind of annoys me. I don't know, she's not Sybil, and I know she's so different that she's not supposed to be, but I'm just not interested in her play in my plot or plight in the show. So anyways, this long curvy needle, which I need to get off of and use my Knitter's Dream. Is that what this was? The ones with the black? I'm sure I have it somewhere, but I knit one thing on these and I need to try using them some more because I am so devoted to my Knit Picks needles that, like, these are Addie's, and really I guess they're both all tangled up, but I don't enjoy using my Addie's. But for some reason, I don't think I have Knit Picks Fixed Circular in 2.5, 3.0 millimeter needles. So, all of this to say, this is going to be a sockhead hat. Focus up. Oh my goodness. I am just jumping all over the place. You know what the sockhead hat looks like? It's in the top published patterns out there. It's a free hat. There's what she looks like wearing it by Boho Knits. Kelly McClure. Yep. And it's just a great way to use your beautiful hand-painted, variegated yarns in a way that isn't on your feet. So I am in the Into the World Club, and I would be ashamed if anyone were to look in my Into the World bin, but I can't get out of the club. I just can't bring myself to do it. I love it. And it's just, her color sense really works for me. Like, there are so few skeins that come that I'm not wild about from them. They do an excellent job. I don't know, I don't think they watch, but if they do, you guys are awesome. And I love the themes. So I have all these beautiful skeins, but I don't know what to knit with them because they're not self-striping. Oh, sorry. And I'm always torn. So I think that a sockhead hat is going to be a great option for me. I also think shawls are good, but because of the highly variegated, super colorful nature of most of their yarn, like the Mithrandal, anyways, there's one that's not, that I have out and skeined and sitting by the TV in my yarn tower that just looks at me and says, you can knit me into something subtle. It's like green and gray and black. But anyways, that's not what this is. This is beautiful. And do you know what Steve said when I was scanning it? He was like, is that yarn that you really love, the electric fish? And I was like, no, but it does look really similar to deep sea jellyfish. You have a good eye and good job knowing what my absolute favorite skein of yarn ever in the world was. So we'll see if I finish that, but I think it's a good use for your highly variegated socks that rock, Into the World, any of those yarns. I also cast on some dishcloths. So this is the Sugars and Cream Azalea colorway in the Grandma's Favorite dishcloth pattern, knit on US size 7s, I believe, yes. And 4.5 millimeter needles. And I used, well, I knit this one, and then I thought, oh, what if I made my Valentine's dishcloths look a little bit more like a heart? And so I cast on 2 beginnings, and then I joined them to knit them together. That's basically all I did to make this little heart. I'm not sure how useful this is going to be. Maybe it will be, but I'm just thinking like washing him up with it. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I'll let you know how it works. I have about a third of a skein left and a whole nother skein, so I think I need to knit 3 more dishcloths and I'll be good to go on those. I don't like to bring cotton into my yarn stash. Do you hear that weird noise? I don't know what that is. I really hope you can't hear it because it's loud. But I don't like to bring cotton into my stash. It's just not something I want to accumulate. I want to buy it and knit it and be done. And for some reason I can't buy a single skein. I feel like I always have to buy 2. And then I will continue showing you all the new things. I've had this skein of Sunshine, which is by Fibronith Dye Works, everybody's favorite, Lisa from 90% Knitting. This is a 75 superwash merino, 25% nylon, 490 yards in the skein, very generous skein size. This is called the King's Cross Gradient, which I believe is named for a metro stop. I think they call it a metro, whatever the subway is in London. I believe that's one of the stops is King's Cross, and I believe I went there, but I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure I did. So I have been, let's see, thinking about knitting the Citron shawl out of Knitty 2009, winter 2009, since winter 2009. So it is this beautiful shawl. When it came out, I was not a shawl knitter, and I was very intimidated by the pattern. And so it was just one of those like, oh yeah, oh yeah. If you look, I think it has like 11,000 finished projects out there. It's definitely one of the more popular patterns out on Rav. And so for some reason last night, it was just time. It was time to start. And this definitely needs to be a shawl because of the gradient color. And I thought it would be perfect. I thought it would be nice to have the green up near my eyes and the black at the bottom, probably wearing it over a black sweater. I'm wearing a shawl almost every single day, just because my pregnancy wardrobe is a lot of plain tees. I'm not investing in, I shouldn't say investing, but I'm not buying a lot of nice woven tops. And when I was pregnant with Ro, it was summer by the time I was this size, so I have a lot of short sleeve tees, and so I'm doing a lot like you're seeing right now. You know, the short sleeve t-shirt with the sweater on top and a shawl around my neck. And so it's fun, and I get different compliments every day for whichever shawl I'm wearing, or because I'm pulling out a lot that they haven't seen before, because I pretty much have like 5 favorites that I would wear with my normal wardrobe that go with it. And since I'm wearing, like I normally don't wear a purple shirt, this one came out today, and I probably haven't worn this in 6 months. So I knit this at SSK. Anyways, so yeah, so I cast on for the Citron last night. It's by Hilary Smith Calais, and I am using US size 6s for this. And I was a little worried because this seems like a light fingering weight yarn to me, but the pattern I believe calls for a lace weight. Does that sound right? Lace sock? I guess I could look. And so I thought, oh, all right, because at first I thought, oh, I'll go down a needle size because my yarn's so fine. But then I actually read the pattern, and the material is a lace, Malabrigo Lace Baby Merino. So it's got to be somewhere it is. And the fabric itself looks great as far as I'm concerned. So I have this much done so far. And I really like it, and it's fun, and it's easy, and it's just interesting enough. You know, like knitting this hat was just interesting enough. There was a rest row, and then there was only like 25 stitches where I had to be reading a chart and paying attention, and then the rest of the time I could just like, oh, okay, yeah, look around, do whatever. So I have a feeling this is going to be a very good, very fun and pleasing knit. So there you go. As always, I'm thinking about, so all of those new projects are riding in this bag. This bag is so massive. I love it. Do we know whose it is? Yes, we do. Stitched by Jesslo. So, well, it's mine, but anyways, more things to put in the bag. I'm just seeing them now. So as always, I'm thinking about what's next, and I really want to work with this yarn. This is some of my Rhinebeck yarn. This is Dragonfly Fibers in the Traveler Base, the spooky colorway. I did a lot of scanning last Sunday so that I would have access to things. So that's probably part of my inspiration to cast on a lot of new projects. Is there's a lot more skeined up versus, or balled up, caked up, versus in the beautiful hanks. So, because I like to wait until I'm going to use it, and then I end up not casting on because and then there were like 10 of them that need to be caked, and so I think I did 8 one night and then 9 the next morning just to get them all done. But so I'm thinking this wants to be brickless. I think that would make a really excellent brickless. I have 3 skeins of it, which I bought out what they had at the booth at Rhinebeck, but wasn't enough for a sweater. So I need to come up with some sort of great DK weight worsted pattern to use with this. So I think that's going to be next. But I haven't knit shawls in a while, and for me to have one of the needles and talking about knitting another is just like, whoa, what's up? I'm also still thinking about the toddler vest. Yes, I did bring that to show you a picture. I know, it's a little more paper heavy this way, but it's great. Cutie Pie, that's a free pattern over on Rav. It calls for 1 skein of Dreaming Color Classy, the worsted weight, whatever the worsted weight is. So that's like 220 yards of worsted weight yarn. So I'm thinking I might knit one of those just to have, because I like them. And June is pretty hot, so maybe I'll upsize it. I don't know, you could tell my head, I'm only dreaming about it. I'm not really actively engaged in coming up with a plan for it. So that's what I'm thinking about next. Yeah. I hope you are having a great January. Super Bowl is right around the corner, and that's it. I think it's time to go pick up Rowan. Have a great 10 days or so, or less, or more, or around 10 days until I talk to you again, and enjoy what's going on in your knitting. Take care.